And I am back with Shira Éfron, a senior fellow at the Rand Corporation, and Maathio Levitt, a senior fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. Shira, in your Foreign Affairs article, you say that the plan for a technocratic Palestinian government in Gaza is all well and good, but it does not deal with one very important factor, which is legitimacy. How do these Palestinians have legitimacy with the people? And we sort of saw this in Iraq as well. You can put in very smart people, but if there's a sense in which they were appointed from above on high by foreigners, they do lack that legitimacy on the ground. Yet, Israel won't accept anyone who has a background with Hamas or with the Palestinian Authority, which it regards as feckless and corrupt with good reason. So who are these Palestinians going to be?
So there is a list of 15 folks who were agreed by Palestinians, Egypt, and several other countries to be on this technocratic committee. It's still murky whether Israel agreed or not. They are from Gaza. Those are people, and we won't go into names, but those are people that Israel has worked with throughout the years, including in Gaza, and they do have legitimacy on the ground. To your point, though, I think the big question is also in terms of framing. If we have an international umbrella, we have the Board of Peace, and it comes to substitute a legitimate Palestinian governance body, that will not work. However, if this comes to support and not substitute and create the basis and enforcement and capacity building, then we can have this legitimacy that is so needed on the ground. On the Palestinian Authority, you know, we have to make a distinction between two things. There is the symbolism of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen riding back into Gaza, which is something that the Israeli political echelon at the moment says is a red line. However, when we talk about the Palestinian institutions, this is a lot of smoke and mirrors. Israel works with the Palestinian Authority all the time in the West Bank and also in Gaza. And I can give you some examples, including the Rafah crossing that is supposed to reopen in the next few days. Is going to be manned on the Gazan side of the crossing by Palestinian security forces in uniform and with a flag. The Palestinian Water Authority from Ramallah coordinates with Israel the fixing of water and sanitation equipment in Gaza today. Same goes for the Monetary Authority, and even the Ministry of Health, the Hamas-led Ministry of Health, has a PA, Palestinian Authority arm, that engages in referrals, and there are going to be many of them now, and procurement of medicine. So this whole taboo on a Palestinian Authority, I just don't buy it. I think it's a framing, and borrowing from a U.S. term, some sort of don't ask, don't tell could work very well here, and it would not interrupt. It's not something that I expect to see much opposition to in Israel.
Matt, would you agree with that? I think the issue with the Palestinian Authority is, I'm not sure it has much legitimacy with Palestinians. In fact, it's deeply unpopular. And the Israelis, certainly Prime Minister Netanyahu, doesn't want it because it would then suggest the beginnings of a Palestinian state if that authority is running both the West Bank and Gaza. Is there a way where the Palestinian Authority, in your opinion, gets some kind of control of the day-to-day operations in Gaza?
Over time, yes. At the end of the day, the Palestinian Authority is what we have. And the international community has been calling for serious reform within the PA for quite some time. This is the opportunity to put that in place. If you want to have a role in post-war Gaza, if you want to have a place in governing both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, we have to see serious reform. Whether it continues under the name Palestinian Authority or it renames under something else is yet to be seen. But I think Shira is absolutely right. It's important to note that the Israelis cooperate with the Palestinian Authority, especially in the West Bank, on a myriad of issues on a day-to-day basis because it's what's there. Netanyahu does not like the Palestinian Authority because he doesn't want there to be a two-state solution. But I think he's going to have to give significant rope on this because President Trump wants this ceasefire to work. The Gulf states, the Arab states want there to be movement towards a Palestinian system of self-rule. There's going to have to be a system to enable reconstruction in Gaza. theoretically, we could have a better situation than we did before in terms of the kind of rule that Palestinians are able to live under in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip that can coordinate with the people next door in Israel.
Shira, finally, is it worth then having elections? Because part of the reason the Palestinian Authority has no credibility with Palestinians is Mahmoud Abbas is, on the 19th year of his 4-year term. There haven't been elections there forever because the PA thinks that, probably correctly, that they would lose badly.
That is correct, and elections would have to come. They have to draw their legitimacy from the people. But, the Palestinian arena is largely a two-party system. It's Fatah or Hamas. For a long time, it was very convenient for everyone, for the Palestinians not to have elections because we dreaded Hamas winning. After reforms, and I completely agree with Matt, and I think dangling the Gaza card is the best way to leverage and affect the Palestinian Authority into reforms. They would have to go through reforms to have a new cadre of leadership that enters the scene and be given an opportunity alongside with other reforms, but we just don't have anything else.
All right. On that note of agreement, thank you both for a very insightful conversation.